All right, so yes, perfect. It's me again. And now we are officially launching. It's time to launch version 1 of the Assessment Fast Track Rapid Evaluation Framework. I will present like the first few slides, then Jared here is the main brain behind the REF delivery team, will show you a short demo that will hopefully inspire you to go and check it out yourself. And then Ranjini will show you a little more of the use cases. And then, we will follow up with some questions, Slido questions again, that hopefully will show, give us some feedback on how you perceive the REF. All right, so it has been a long journey. Let's see if that is progressing. Yes, there we go. It has been a long journey, and we acknowledge the funding from ESA and the US Department of Energy, and especially the REF delivery team, which is, the different institutions are listed on the left side of the slide. There's a lot of people came together to make this happen, and we are really, really grateful that they made it happen. And also to all of you who responded to surveys and attended dedicated drop-ins and events for providing feedback, because without the feedback, we would not be able to be here today to show you what we have accomplished so far. All right. So you have the first question seen on Slido already, is my guess. How much do you already know about the REF? I mean, whatever you can imagine, what you know already. If you know nothing, or if you know it a little bit, if you're not really have been part of the journey of the delivery team, you probably don't know all of it yet. What I can tell you what the REF is that it brings together the analysis from different evaluation tools in a consistent manner, showcasing open source software and data diversity. This is one of the main things that we can really show. This is like, for the first time, those different tools come together and a unified view of the results can be presented. The REF diagnostics give a broad overview of the spread across models in terms of calculated metrics, and the diagnostics can be useful to answer a specific research question by examining diagnostic criteria related to model performance in key processes of regions relevant to the study. This is one part, like basically the one stream that came down from the model benchmarking task team task that we were tasked with to identify something and to create, define something like this. On the other hand, there was a survey, a community survey that was performed in 2024, where the community told us we want a single community analysis tool. So the two streams basically came together to make this happen, to define it. Do we look at the slide now? Okay. All right. Version 1 of the Rapid Evaluation Framework. We had a vision. It's a community-owned, the REF would be a community-owned evaluation framework built upon and being compatible with, takes a while to load, with existing community evaluation packages, there we go, that incorporates an application programming interface for executing the metrics for the community evaluation packages across the globe. The goal was to have a complete end-to-end system providing a systematic and rapid performance assessment in supporting the next IPCC Assessment Report, the AR7 cycle. And the launch today is a step towards the CMIP 7 version, and we will be using your feedback to further refine it. And I come back to why it's called CMIP 7 version. The outcome of our dream was that the REF would provide the ability to fully integrate evaluation tools into the CMIP publication workflow and have the the model output alongside the diagnostic output through on ESGF through an easily accessible website. And the ref, as we will present it today, is only a starting point for a deeper exploration of CMIP model data that we can imagine. All right. Okay, wait. No. The slides are stuck. Oh, there we go. Too fast. Yeah. All right, we have a different, several, you probably go through like a flick of, no, it's fine. It's not going quite quickly. So we have a diagnostic collection that with the different reference data sets that are shown here. The diagnostics that are implemented in the first version of the ref are grouped in 5 themes. You can see like the different, how many diagnostics per theme are available and how many different reference data sets are available. There's 2 themes, like the Earth system, for example, that has not so many reference data sets. That is because some of those or most of those diagnostics don't need a reference data set to be calculated, ECS, for example. And then we have impacts and adaptation, and we only have 2 diagnostics available. This is based on the fact that the first version of the ref focuses on monthly mean data only, and a lot of the diagnostics that would be very interesting for that specific theme need a higher temporal resolution for any, to be useful. We have co-created the ref in 16 months so far. As I mentioned, I started with like when we dreamt the thing up. That was the brief in May 2024. And then we had several rounds of consultations where we talked about what the ref should entail, like how it should look like, how it is working, with different hackathons and different surveys and the beta release. And where we are right now is that we released the version 1 that is tailored towards CMIP 6 and CMIP 6 plus data. That's the release that we are having today because CMIP 7 data is not available yet. And when we started the whole process, we thought that we would have the first data available by now. That did not happen. So to present you with something, we decided, or not just us, the delivery team, the benchmarking task team, but also the CMIP panel decided that version of the release would be based on CMIP 6 and CMIP 6 plus data. The version 2 of the ref will be based on CMIP 7 data, the CMIP 7 ready ref. It will be released in March 2026 at the CMIP workshop in Kyoto. So the next slide shows the timeline, like what has happened since July or June in 2024. I'm not going into detail here. Like we are right now at the vertical red dash line. You can see a lot has happened before, and you can look into details about this in a bit. But so we are releasing version 1 right now. The release of version 2 is to the far right, and in the middle you have like between those you have the governance being finalized. This is the part where like we hand over the governance or the governance for the ref from the CMIP model benchmarking task team to a specific governance body that is installed right now under ESMO. It's not just a CMIP thing anymore. It's like bigger than that. And so it will be hosted by ESMO. And how it actually will look like is defined right now. And so that's an ongoing process. At the moment, we anticipate the version 1 of the ref to be focused mainly on scientific users. That is a working version. It's not finalized yet. It will be like valuable for each of you for us to get feedback from each of you. You can, as soon as, like you have seen the demonstration in a bit, You can check out the website that provides you with all kinds of different data. If you find something that you think that would be good to have, or that doesn't make sense, or hey, that this is great, please give us feedback so to make it better for the release in March. But we can already anticipate that there's more than scientists being interested in using what the REF provides. For example, the modeling centers using it for their model validation or their simulation validations, or product users like accessing derived data for kind of like downstream uses for example, insurance sector or something. At the moment, we are here at ESM 2025 to launch this as the version in particularly geared at the CMIP community modelers, modeling centers, and scientific users. And as I said, we want you to help us to get it to the next level. There is a cautionary note before you start to use it. There is also the disclaimer when you first open the website, that the content of this version of the REF is still under development. So please keep that in mind. It's not finalized yet. If you find a problem that you can report it, we most likely have been aware of this already, but please do report it so that we keep track of things and make sure that we iron out everything that is not correct and is not displayed correctly, it might not be calculated correctly. So please keep that in mind. There is a dedicated GitHub repo where you can report those problems. We have, for the REF, we have different things that go in, like we have observational data or reference data, could be reanalysis that go in. We have model data that is QA/QC'd. And then it goes into that framework where things are calculated and kind of like where like everything is triggered and things are calculated, and then there's an output, and that will be kind of like publicly displayed on the website. This is basically very roughly how the REF works, right? That's one version of the REF. That the website that is publicly available is hosted on ESGF, and that's one version of the REF. We have containerized version of the REF as well that you can install on your own laptop or supercomputer or server at home, that you can run the REF on your own simulations if you would want to use to do that. And at that point, I hand over to Jared, who will give you a little more detail on how the REF actually works.
Thanks, Birgit. So I thought I'd actually start with what actually is the REF. We've talked a lot about this thing in quite high level, but let's get down to a bit more detail. So at the core of the REF, we have an abstraction around a so-called diagnostic. A diagnostic just defines what data requirements it has, and it also provides a really simple function which takes some input data and produces some output in a consistent format. That consistency very early on in the process is very important because after that, we ingest those results into a database, and that database ensures that everything is all aligned and consistent. And then on top of that database, we wrap an API. This API provides us with an ability to query these data and also feed data into our data portal, which we'll get to in a second. But since we have this API, we're able to also consume those data in other places, such as Jupyter Notebooks, or on third-party websites, or maybe even fetching these data and ingesting them into your own modeling center workflows. So we also, as a part of the REF, we also provide some tooling to run these executions at scale on HPCs or locally on a computer. I'm just going to jump now back into the demo. So the website that we've created to kind of showcase where we're going with this is dashboard.climate-ref.org. That's currently live, and I'm just going to jump over to that to start running through what that actually means. Let me just do a quick refresh here because I may have made some last minute changes as you normally do. So when you first land on this website, you will see a disclaimer that Birgit mentioned before, accepting that, also bear with me in the room, it's going to be a 10-second delay, so I may talk out of phase with what you're seeing on the screen, but hopefully you can still follow along. Once you accept that the disclaimer, you'll see our landing page where we have some additional information that goes into a bit more detail about what we're doing. We have, so far for what I'm presented today, we've ingested, we've got 8,600 different execution runs. So far we're seeing around a 70% success rate for those runs. Some of that may be due to some things with the ref, but generally some of the failures that we're seeing are cross-variable joining of different data sets. So when we're doing this kind of automation, the quality assurance process that goes into the metadata is incredibly important to enable us to do this without a human in the loop. So far, we're actually tracking about 500,000 unique metric values, and I'll get to in a second about what they mean. But the best way forward is probably to start with the Data Explorer. The Data Explorer maps to the 5 different themes that were found by the model benchmarking task team. And what you'll see here is, I guess, the very highest level overview, aggregating some of the results across both diagnostic providers and diagnostics. You'll also see there's a few red lines around some boxes. We're still filling in some of the content around what some of those cards could be, and we'd really appreciate any input about what you would love to see here if you go down the track and filter and find some things you're interested in. One of the things that we are using to display some of these metric values is these box and whisker diagrams. Each of these, for example, here on the left-hand side is one particular diagnostic that's run. For that diagnostic, we generate a number of different metric values. Each of them is can either be a scalar value or a one-dimensional vector plus some facet information. And then we're able to slice and dice these data in different ways to present some charts. At the moment here, we're grouping by different seasons, but you could group by different source IDs or things like that to kind of dive down to what you're interested in. Another way that we're also showing here, all of this is driven by a JSON description of what we're showing. So this is a relatively configurable way, and we can build on this in time. We're also able to directly access the values that underlie this particular chart and download the values as a CSV. Another useful chart that we have in that we normally include is, that we can show on our dashboard are these figures. These come from an ESM-Val tool, from multiple different ESM-Val tool runs, and we aggregate them together in a simple view. So here you see this CMIP 126 run is a unique set of figures, but then we may also show down here, we'll show also output from other SSP, like 245 runs, for example. And we can also, these figures also have dimensions, facets behind them, so we can slice and dice these as we need to make the figures that we need to show. Another type of dynamic plot that we're pulling together all these data behind the scenes to do is a Taylor diagram. That's quite a useful way of describing a couple of different dimensions, both the standard deviation of a bias as well as the correlation. And we're also ingesting the series output that comes from running these different models. These are, these charts I show here will come from various different, four different diagnostic providers we use, but they all kind of lump together and provide a uniform way of showing that. So for example, we can show just the CAN ESM ensemble members here. Another way that we can look through some of the output that we're producing is as part of the diagnostic catalog. In this diagnostic catalog, we list the 50-odd different diagnostics that are part of the ref. We can also filter by various different things. including the diagnostic collections that the model benchmarking task team came with. Looking at these cards here, we can see, for example, which ones have scalar values, which ones have series values, which ones are passing, which ones are failing. And if we dive into a given one here, I think we're looking at AMOC and the AMOC comparison to the rapid data observation data set. This one in particular is produced by ILAM. We start off here seeing a bunch of different figures. Now there's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of figures here. I can keep on scrolling, keep on scrolling. All of these figures come out from I think it was 70 different runs that we perform of ILAM to produce all of this. And so with the one feature that isn't quite available yet, but as I mentioned before, was this concept of dimensions, or facets, sorry, of these output. And so we'll be able to filter these figures down to something that's a bit more manageable soon. Another useful view that aggregates across a given diagnostic and a number of different runs, so 66 runs in this case actually, is the series view here. So here we're producing a table of some of these filtering things on the left here may change in time, but we've got a spark lines here, one for each series value. You're also able to filter these tables as you need. So we have been modifying some of the data as you see. The values that we're showing here are simply this point in time. We are doing a full rerun at the moment, and those data will be available soon. Another way that you can access some of this information is via these scalar tables. We report, again, these faceted metadata values that aggregate across 66 different ILAM runs. We're able to filter down to the variables or the metrics of interest. Say we're interested in statistics. We want to look at a bias score. We're able to then apply this filter, and we have only those values in this table now. We can download this as we want and do whatever analysis we need outside the tool as well. The ref isn't meant to be making publication-ready figures. It's more a way of exploring some of these values and pulling them into your own analysis. We're also able to pick a certain value here and dive down into the execution that actually performed that. And we're able to see, for example, the log output of that particular run. So we're keeping track of all this data in the database, and then we can provide the provenance information and the tracking of an individual value back to the data sets that were used to produce it in a coherent platform. So we can build all kinds of services on top of this, and this is backed by an API that will hopefully be of use to various other applications too. Ranjini?
So I'm just going to illustrate very quickly a couple of use cases of the ref, and I'm also going to kind of walk you through a process by which we've received scientific feedback and how we plan to kind of incorporate it in these examples. So the first is from Sven Brands, and this is to do with the atmosphere. So this is a diagnostic to study the North Atlantic oscillation. So where you can basically have different kinds of plots for this particular diagnostic of interest. And you can compare the reference data set with a given model. And you can also look at it in different ways, like there's maps, there's time series, and so on. And then in the top right is what the ref overlays. So the two-column output you're seeing are native from the software tool that produces this output. And the ref processes the metric values produced and draws this box and whisker plot here. So these are just some of the ways by which, if you're studying a particular phenomena or a model, you can kind of like, use the ref and get all these pieces together. This is an example. The next I'm going to talk about oceans, and that's from Rebecca Beedling at Temple University. They're all model benchmarking task team members and scientists who've kind of like given us examples and walked us through this. So Essentially, this is looking at two variables of interest in the ocean, sea surface salinity and sea surface temperature. And what you're seeing here is a whole series of plots like the mean and the standard deviation and things like that. The mean and the bias, essentially in comparison with the reference data set. And there are Taylor diagrams. In this case, they are output from the native software package itself. So we've just left this as it is. So the ref also looks, so this is another look at the sea surface salinity and temperature as a box and whisker plot. And we have the AMOC strength as well. So this is one way of like gathering diagnostics that you're particularly interested in and kind of like putting them together for further analysis. So part of this was feedback we received that, in the previous plot, what we see here is the maximum strength in the AMOC, but we were told that people, scientists might actually want to see this kind of profile of the stream function. So this was very useful feedback, and this is something that we'd be incorporating in the ref. So, to be able to plot this, because essentially it uses the same variable data. So this is just to illustrate the process of like producing these outputs from different software and then getting scientific feedback and then kind of incorporating that into the ref to produce what might be most useful for the community. This last set of examples is from Ed Blockley at the Met Office on sea ice. So what you're seeing here is hemispheric sea ice area. So the first column of plots are the seasonal cycle, and the second is the time series. Red is a model, and blue is observation. So this is output with the ref, and you can basically study how a model compares to observations. But we also realized that what we'd really like to see is essentially the ensemble spread across multiple models, and if possible, the ensemble spread across observations as well, to see where the models sit with respect to the observations. So if you recall the plot Jared showed in the demo with the yellow highlight of the Canadian model, we are kind of getting there. So we have the model ensemble plotted. We don't have multiple observations yet. For this version of the ref, we're just going with one observational data set per diagnostic. But the framework allows for us to have other observational data sets as well per diagnostic, and then we can kind of see something like this. So this is essentially looking at the scientific literature to see what's useful and kind of making the ref deliver in that way. So this is an open call to the community to kind of help us refine the ref in time for CMIP 7. So we have several GitHub issues opened on the Climate Ref GitHub portal, and we welcome feedback across these when you take a look at the ref, like play around with it, see what works for you, see what you might want changed, and please give us feedback through these GitHub issues. So that's basically it. Do you want?
Actually, one more thing there. You may see at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen a little BH. Some people don't see it depending on how locked down your laptops are. It's a thing called bug herd, and you can use that to provide feedback directly in the website, and I'll get a message to see what you're seeing and the feedback you have. It's very useful for a figure, for example, but that may not be applicable for everyone.
All right, now, so we invite you, of course, to try it out. Go to the website, try it out, surf through it, scroll through it, try everything that you see and that looks interesting to you, and give us feedback. So we had the different Slido questions. The first Slido question is, where is the, like we had the, don't we see the first one? Okay. All right, so does the ref meet your expectations? We are very happy to see that we are at least on the right side of that plot. We're not getting the most heart-shaped, eyes, but that's okay. We're getting there. I mean, the ref seriously is, you will see it's gonna be awesome. So we got a score of 4.3, and then that would be something that we can track on the ref as well. But all right.
Eleanor, can you move on to the next one?
So we have one more. We have another question. What do you like about the ref? And there's like a few things that you can that you can select, I think, or you can write. Oh, good. I like it.
We could take that.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's all good. Yes, a lot of things at once, and I can tell you it will take some time to go through that dashboard and find the things that you need and that you're interested in. But it's all there. I mean, that's the most incredible part of it. It's all there. I mean, it's just a matter of finding it, but you will get there. And with your help, we will make it easier for everybody else. And like the feedback that we get from you, hopefully. There's a pretty interface, Jared. That's right for you. Like, it was his baby. The interface was his baby. It is very flexible, I agree, and it has a very easy access. It makes it easy to look at things and to just check on things that you want to see.
Where available, there is a link to direct access to the diagnostics on those cards. One of the things. So one of the requests or asks is direct access to the diagnostics. So wherever we have a link to the diagnostic implemented in the original software, we provide that on the cards. So you can go and just basically click on that and it'll take you to the diagnostic or the reference literature.
I think this is our last Slido question. Do you have any concerns about the ref? And please don't hold back. And no, I mean, I'm serious here because we really want to have that feedback, because if you have concerns, then you're probably not the only ones, and you are representatives of the community, and we want to make sure that the ref is something that people and the community can use without too many concerns. I mean, we won't be able to get rid of all concerns. I doubt that. But I mean, if we can address most of them, then we would be very happy, and that's the feedback that we want. Yes, that the funding will stop. That is a concern, and the funding will stop. The first funding will stop just now, at the end of, I think, when we deliver version 2. That's when the first wave for funding is stopping. But we are putting it the maintenance and some further development of the ref into proposals already, to make sure that there is some continuity. But yes, that will be work to make sure that the funding will not dry up.
And lastly, Eleanor, can you just flick it to the questions and answers to see if we've got any on Slido?
So, we have all kinds of misuse, comments about misuse, and how easy it is to implement diagnostics or different tools. Yes, we are aware of the potential misuse of the results. We are in contact, and you will see a lot of explanation when you go on that website first of the responsible use of the ref. And we will continue to update this, because this is still work in progress, but we are as concerned as you are that, hopefully it's not going to be misused, or what we can do to prevent that. So we're working on this. But if you have any good ideas on how we could implement that, please also go on GitHub and raise an issue or give us a comment and a suggestion. The implementation of the diagnostics is something, yes, that is also the ref is just the framework. It's not providing the platform to implement diagnostics directly. You can only implement the diagnostics via one of those evaluation tools that are implemented in the ref right now. And it will be subject to approval of that governancing body that is going to be, started to be in place, and hopefully will be in place in March. So in theory, it's relatively easy to add something, but it will have to go through an approval process. You had a question, Marianne.
The other way, so that you what you don't allow the non-knowledgeable users.
So the question was, I'm repeating the question because you don't know, like, if everybody online heard it or not. So the question was if there would be a possibility to have two branches that are restricted, like one branch is restricted to only scientific users and another branch would be open to like downstream users, or the other way around, so that you could be a little more cautious of like what is presented and how it's presented. That is also an ongoing discussion, and we have so far decided no, there will be no two branches because it is an open source and open access tool. We don't want to restrict, access because it is publicly available anyway. We just facilitate the quicker access. Like everything else is already there. If you run ESMBal tool anyway, you can get exactly the same answer, right? It's ESMBal tool is running, or ILAM or PMP is calculating the metrics, the diagnostics, the results. And if you run those tools anyway, then you get exactly the same answer. It's just a matter of like, we are saving you a step or two.
Yeah, so it's not a critic what I'm going to say. I'm not positioned to critique anything. But so it's like nuclear power. You just assume it's there, but someone can make a bomb or someone can make something else. It's not a critic. It's just,
no.
You're just assuming that it will depend on the end user, like conscience, to decide to use the results in a fit way.
I think we could get it. Well, this is really good feedback because I think we need to tailor how we present some of these data very, very tightly, and that will then guide towards individual user groups. While we're not necessarily closing off bits of it, it's probably more like we're tailoring how you present the data and the guidance around it to the different user groups. It could be the same data under the hood, and it could just be that we choose to show, well, the community chooses how this is all split up depending on what they need to know, I guess.
But as I said, that is exactly the discussion that we had just recently. Exactly the same point. It's like, do we want to have that tailored towards more scientists, and that we get that feedback means that the community has concerns about it, and we have to make sure that we address it somehow, and hopefully in a good way, so that it's not of such a big concern anymore.
I have a point of question. I'm not so worried about opening it to a whole range of users because people who want to misuse or take ill-informed decision are going to do it anyway. But I'm more worried that modeling teams would tune their model to show good scores in REF, and that would prevent more diversity in modeling choices and decisions. Is that something that was talked about? And or would you try to prevent it?
So, actually, so far we haven't thought that any modeling group would specifically run any simulation just to look good at the ref. Like, that's not something that we had thought about so far. The ref was or is intended to provide something that gives you an evaluation of simulations that are submitted to ESGF for a specific purpose anyway. The assessment fast track, right? I don't know if the modeling centers would target simulation just to look good at the for the ref. To just submit something like this. I don't know. It's a good question. I didn't come up yet, but it might be a concern. I don't know.
Initially, when we're thinking about the ref, we were thinking about it as kind of like a CI/CD pipeline for model for data sets, and that it would run before data sets are public. But that we've kind of veered away from that, and more it's dealing with data as it comes into ESGF and then automatically calculating it. So previously, these values were still calculated. It just took 6 months, a year to do it. Now it's kind of like the next day, the new results are available. So yeah.
I take the opportunity to have the mic to ask you two small, one comment and one question. So the comment is, do you think that in the disclaimers you can point towards the essential model documentation? because for downstream users, that makes a use of all these wealth of data that are produced by the modeling center. And they, you know, with the fantasy joke that you made, that we have the metrics at the very end without knowing anything about the model, the parameterization, whether they are looking good or bad relative to the observation, why the sensitivity is so strong compared to the assess range, and so on. So pointing toward model specificity can be, to me, as a modelers, a key disclaimers that you need to put up front. So raise the attention of all the users that they need to know what type of models they are looking at, like the way do we take care about the food that we are eating every day. So that's the suggestion.
Yeah, not a problem. I mean, we can change the text. That's work in progress. I mean, if you say, you know, if that is something that would be helpful and is seen as valuable, then absolutely we can tweak the text. I'm looking at you, but you're not nodding. I mean,
Given a source ID, we can map it to.
We can discuss it. And the second question is that, do you plan to have interaction with the atlas of the IPCC? Because what you are doing is like something very close, more to target the science, but in some point you've raised the fact that you are planning to do something toward downstream users, which is the goal of the atlas. And is there some discussion with the IPCC to have something more integrated through the development of the community, like REF and the benchmarking of the model that are using IPCC framework anyway, and the en route to the society with the development of the atlas? So to me, it sounds like, it looks like that we are just heading the same direction, but with two different tools. So is there some discussion that you plan to have with them or not?
yes, like before I hand over to Jared, like we are not aiming for anything. The community suggests stuff that could be done after we deliver the first version or the second version of the ref. And if the community suggests we should go this road, then we can, you know, discuss this. But like the model benchmarking task team is done in the sense with the ref and being responsible for the ref after it has been delivered. But Jared can talk more about the atlas.
I guess there's kind of two irons in that fire at the moment. We're in communication about the provenance information that we're capturing here. Since we have the data set that went into any given point, we can provide really detailed provenance information, building on top of ESMFL tools, existing templates. And the second one there is, yes, we've started discussing with the Atlas teams about how we could potentially integrate that. There might be bits that they can do better, and there might be bits that we can do differently. And since we're providing an API, they're able to pull things as they need to. So it's probably very early on about how we're going to integrate, but those discussions are happening.
So I just want to say that the feedback that you gave in this session has been collected, and there's an FAQ page on the Climate Rep website, and we're going to post all that as part of the FAQ there. So please go see that in a few days and for any updates. And if you have further questions, please do ask.
Yeah, so I'm wondering whether any modeling groups had expressed interest in sort of using this as in development.
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean in NORIASM, I think we've had a parallel effort to develop an internal diagnostics. So I'm wondering, so the groups that have done that, have they used the?
Well, you know better, because we have, like, the beta launch was specifically for modeling groups that they could use, kind of try to use the containerized version of the ref, a very first version of the ref, to make use of it on their specific HPC systems. And we had several of them, right?
It's probably still like fairly early on to actually deploying it, but Access NRI has been looking at using this for some of their back-end diagnostics. And yeah, we've had interest from a few other groups about using it. I'm kind of harping on a little bit about this API, but I guess the reason behind some of this is that they don't necessarily have to run all of those diagnostics that we've run. They can grab the data that we've already calculated and imbue their one extra chart before it's public. So one of the key, I guess, requirements for the ref was that it had to be able to be run on data that wasn't yet published on ESGF because of that use case of a modeling center wanting to run things behind the firewall.
Yeah, cool.
All right, we don't want to keep you too long from the nibbles and the drinks because we are celebrating today because the ref is officially launched. But if you have any other questions, you can always find us, like Ranjini, Jared, and I will be here until the end of the meeting. Come up and talk to us, give us suggestions, give us comments, discuss. We are happy to take all of your questions and try to answer whatever concerns you have. Bryony is here as well. Eleanor is here. Fanny is here. And that gives me the right direction to say that the ref will be hosted under ESMO as soon as the governance structure is in place. And so here you can see ESMO already being part of the ref. Yes, we're very happy that it found a home there because it is bigger than CMIP already. And you can already see that a lot of people are pulling it in all kinds of directions, which is great because it just shows that the community has an interest and that the community is eager to actually explore. So please do that and give us feedback. And hopefully, like in March, we will have a perfect version 2 that we can launch in Kyoto. All right, thank you so much.
And I'd just like to finish off with a big thank you to the development team, delivery team who've worked tirelessly behind the scenes to do this. It's been a big year trying to get this done. So yeah, thank you very much to them if they're listening.